So there are certain like tricks that you would do that were like accepted and certain tricks that are not.
Well, that's
Illegal
funny you say
tricks, I
that.
think, is what they call it now.
Well, I think back then it was like we didn't like Benihanas.
Why? Oh my God, the Benihana, the most hated trick in
The
skateboarding.
Benihana, man.
I want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Sticker Savages for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. More about them in a little bit. Stay tuned.
You know, it was interesting because remember Rip Grip?
No.
Okay, Rip Grip was the stuff that you would put on your nose on the rail of your board for grabs. For grabs off of launch ramps, nose grabs, finger flips, and stuff like that. Is you put it under the board so you have more traction.
Yeah.
And I remember when Rip Grip became obsolete because we started using the noses. They started getting a little bit bigger. We started using the noses in the middle of the board for slides. And that was such a big change. I mean, it opened up the world for possibilities on a skateboard. And then switch stance skateboarding started coming through. And that's where I thrived. You know, I thrived with these changes in skateboarding. And,
yeah, I feel like you were a pioneer of that.
I mean, I wasn't a pioneer, but I was like one of the younger guys following suit. Following what the older guys had laid down, like Solomon Aga, Mike Carroll, Henry Sanchez. I was in the same era and, just one of the younger guys coming up during that time.
And then you just learned every trick switch and then you just...
Yeah.
I mean, I just watched a clip of you and like almost every trick in there is switch.
I mean, yeah. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because like when I was younger, I twisted my ankle really bad in my front ankle. I'm regular foot, so it's my left foot.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do any flip tricks with my, regular flip tricks. So eventually, once I was able to jump again and do ollies, that's when I really started focusing on my switch stance, kick flips, switch heel flips, switch shove its and stuff like that. And I noticed that I got more attention doing these tricks. And it was also more exciting for me because, I'd get noticed by my peers more when I would do the switch stance tricks. And that was like the drive to learn more original tricks that I wasn't seeing my friends doing. And, that was like, that was the drive, getting props from my peers.
Okay. So you would do that and then they'd be like, whoa.
Yeah, well, I never seen that before.
Yeah, that's the one right there. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, so early on, I was focused on impressing the peers, and also, I mean, that was the main focus. The main focus was like, pushing myself to do something I hadn't done before. But the drive was to really showcase a trick that hadn't been done before. And at that time, there was so much possibility for newness and creativity, and just it was a perfect time for me to come up.
Yeah, beautiful. Because everything was new.
Everything was new, you know.
Okay, I feel like when you're trying a new trick in skateboarding, there's sort of like this mental battle that you're going through.
Oh, man.
Like, is this thing possible? Like, how can you talk about that?
That's great, Aaron. The reason why we have that blockage, is it possible? Because we haven't seen it before. And so you're literally bringing something from your imagination into existence. So you are a pioneer when you're doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So funny thing is, there's a battle between me and Huston. Some people say that I invented the K grind. Some people say that he invented the K grind, crooked grind. And I'll give it to him, because I was so young at the time, just doing so many things. But it's an honor to even be considered one of the people to have possibly created the crooked grind. So
what's the story behind that?
Well, it started off, we were doing no slides, crooked grinds.
No slide to crook.
No slide to crook. And that was like a thing. And then eventually I would start, the no slide would become shorter and shorter, just really fast. So it looked like I was doing a crooked grind. So I just get into the no slide and immediately straight to the crooked grind. And I guess the crooked grinds where I was grinding so long that nobody really saw the no slide. But I think that, so that's the story behind the crooked grind.
And then Huston, where'd he come in this?
I don't know. He was just out there in LA.
Yeah, because I was going to say, he's not an EMB.
No, but he was just doing so many amazing tricks in LA with those guys. So Yeah. I wasn't really following skating at that time. I was just, I was experiencing it.
Wow, that's
You know?
amazing. It's funny how it's changed. Like I've been skating for 30 years, and I just in the last year recently learned no slide to crooked grind. And
Oh,
I'm like so stoked on it. I feel like it's one of the hardest tricks.
Well, I have to say, Aaron, like you just keep progressing. Like I saw you did a really long no slide nollie 270 out, and that's super difficult because as a trick, you holding that for a long time, then turning out is a completely different thing. Like from my era, you get in fast, you come out fast.
Yeah.
And it gives you the momentum. You can have the board sagging, but to hold a long no slide, turn out 270, very difficult. And recently I saw you learned a nollie front foot flip.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm like, you're not complacent at all. You know, you keep going.
Well, it's that thing that you said. It's about like I feel like that's the thing about skateboarding is you have all these other people and there's other people to progress and there's sponsors and social media and all that stuff. But really, it's you battling your own inner self and your own, I feel like,
well said.
I feel like a child again, just getting out there and just learning a new trick and the smile it puts on my face that's priceless.
Well, this is why skateboarding is so special because there's no coach, well, we got coaches nowadays, but for the most part, there's no coach. It's you against your board. It's you pushing yourself to be your best self.
Yeah.
And that can be very frustrating.
Yeah. So back in the day, no slide to crook was the easy one?
That was like the first one that came. It wasn't easy. It was just like, that was the move.
Like, how is that even?
I know. Oh, because
the trucks were loose, the wheels were small.
The wheels were small, the trucks were loose, and the ledges were rounded at EMB from so much use. So it just became, and it was hard for us to do it anywhere else, but that was our training ground. That was the mecca of skating. So we didn't really have to go outside to skate different things. But, me and the younger guys, we would love to venture off. That's what this book is about. My second book, Jonas Meets Jack, my first skateboard, Jonas Meets Jack. So this book shows me and my friends, being at EMB and skating all the spots around the EMB area.
Tell us about the first book and then get into this.
Okay. So this is my very first book, my first skateboard. The catalyst to writing this was, when I heard skateboarding was becoming part of the Olympics.
Oh, really?
I really wanted to encapsulate the positive attributes that skateboarding brought into my life.
Yeah.
And that is the fact that it breaks down barriers such as like age, race, gender, size, language barriers. And I mean, skateboarding is truly a tool to bring people all together. So that's what this book encapsulates. It's a great tool for your novice skater to understand the positive attributes that skateboarding can bring into somebody's life, or a parent. It's a really good tool for people that don't understand skateboarding to really gain knowledge on what is positive in skateboarding. A lot of positive aspects in skateboarding. This book is great. It's truly my best trick that I've ever done.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, truly. It's my gift to skateboarding.
Oh, I love that.
And skateboarding is a gift to us. So, and then the second book, like I said, it's more for the the skaters. It shows the spots that skaters that understand skateboarding will understand.
Yeah,
will recognize. And so yeah, Jonas Meets Jack. Yay! It's about meeting people from around the world.
Where do people get these books, Karl?
So you can go to our site, myfirstskateboardthebook.com. Or like local skate shops carry them, or you can buy them off of Braille.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So sick. Well, thank you for writing those. I think that's incredible. It's very,
welcome.
Very in line with what I'm trying to do and the whole mission. And
absolutely.
It's awesome.
That's why when you told me, when you asked me to come on this podcast, I was like, it's a no-brainer. I love what you do. It's super important for skateboarding. And I really wish more individuals would do what you're doing, because that's how we're going to keep our industry growing. And it's more than just the industry. That's just it's our community.
Right.
You're a community leader in the skateboard industry. And we have to focus on the novices. We got to focus on getting kids into skateboarding for the right reasons.
Right.
And it's not to become a professional skateboarder. I mean, maybe that can be your goal.
Right.
But a lot of kids think that if you're a pro skater, you're rich, or, to get sponsored, you have the status. But ultimately, these things are, it's not like the reality of it all, that's not the apex of becoming a good skateboarder. Becoming a good skateboarder helps you develop as a person.
Right.
And that's what you have to gain, and also your friend group. And if you happen to get sponsored or turn pro in the process, kudos to you. Like
Right.
for me, I never strived to get sponsored. It was never a goal of mine to turn pro. It just happened because I was around the right people, I was doing the right tricks, and I had the right amount of focus to create results.
Wow.
So
how did that happen?
Oh, how did I turn pro?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, let's go to the first sponsor.
This is great. Okay, first sponsor.
First sponsor, and then go into the pro.
So I started skating 1987. I got my first sponsor, Dogtown.
Dogtown was your first sponsor.
1989. And that was around the time where they were just, they were just kind of coming out, from the Dogtown era.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to reinvent themselves with street style skaters.
Yeah.
And so they teamed up with Keith Cochran, Greg Karl, and it didn't go well for them. So after about 6 months or so, they took all the AMs off of Dogtown and they put them on this new company called Think Skateboards.
Ooh, let's go Think Skateboards.
Pretty crazy, because back to my friend, my good buddy, Nick Lockman, he was pretty pivotal in the reason why they picked that name. So they were going to call Think Skateboards Move Skateboards, MOVE, but Nick had this random sticker with a light bulb and it just said Think, and he was like, how about Think Skateboards? And this can be the logo. And this kid who was 9 years old at the time, 10 years old, they took that and they ran with it.
Wow.
So yeah, that was my second sponsor, my first official sponsor. And, I went on a trip with them up to Corvallis, Oregon for like some demo at like a logging fair.
No way.
So, like,
how old were you?
I was only 12, 13. I was the only African-American person at this event. And, my parents were super nervous going up there, but honestly, it was such a good experience.
Yeah.
I didn't get any flack from anybody. It was just all love. And that helped me develop like an understanding of just like not carrying expectations of how people are going to treat you.
Right.
And not holding on to those and just being a good person, having good thoughts. And oftentimes that'll help the people treat you the way you want to be treated. If you go into a situation, you assume that they're gonna hate me because of this, they're gonna treat me a certain way because of that. Oftentimes your thoughts will create that reality. So if you think differently, like, I'm going to have a good time and look at all these amazing humans, enjoying themselves. And that's what I did at that time. And it really helped me to break out of that, that mind state of like, not victim mind state, but just like, a mind state of maybe being less than. And skateboarding really gave me the platform to see myself as like a human and not like a stereotype or, something like that. So thank God for skateboarding, because it really like tore down the walls of perception, and it showed me how vast the world is.
Yeah.
And, how these things that we trip on, race, even though we're all one race, the human race, are super mundane. And literally it's not even worth our energy, at the end of the day. And I get it. There's social constructs that we live in this society. Yeah, we got to live a certain way, but skateboarding is one of the best tools. And I give thanks for it every day, because it really made it so I can see you as my fellow human. I can see any other skater as my fellow human, and that just trickles on to other people in our world,
Yeah, and that's pretty heavy at the age of 12.
Yeah, that was pretty heavy, Aaron, because it was like an experiment for my parents. Like my dad, he had to meet everybody, and who I was going on this trip with. And he's like, okay, you're in good hands. And they were a little nervous going up to Corvallis, Oregon.
Right.
But it turned out to be a good experience. And that allowed them to allow me to pursue skateboarding.
What's going on, everybody? I want to introduce you to a brand new sponsor of ours, Sticker Savages. Sticker Savages is a monthly sticker club that features 10 vibrant waterproof stickers each month, mailed to you in a super trippy collectible box that changes 4 times each year. They work closely with top Instagram artists to bring the dopest stickers in the game, with designs never to be repeated. Since these stickers are waterproof and rated for outdoor use, you can put them anywhere, on your car, your helmet, your water bottle, in the heavily graffitied bathroom in your favorite crusty coffee shop, and even on your skateboard to help you finally land that kickflip down the four-stair. Again, these stickers are super exclusive. They're printed once and then never printed again. So sick. And Sticker Savages is offering a really great deal for listeners of the podcast. You can join the Sticker Savages today with a coupon code BRAILE for 50% off your first sticker box. Go to bit.ly/Sticker Savages and use the code BRAILE to sign up and get 50% off your first box. That's bit.ly/Sticker Savages and use code BRAILE at checkout. Thanks again, and back to the episode. So what was this demo like?
It was just like at a logging fair.
At a logging fair?
Logging fair, and they just had like ramps set up. Crazy story is I met Colin McKay and Moses Itikonen.
Yeah.
I met them there, and they were little kids. We were the same age, and they were skating vert, and we just connected right off the bat. But they were skating vert, and I was like, man, how do you guys skate vert? You're my age. Like, that's amazing.
Wow. So there was a vert ramp there.
There was a vert ramp there.
I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, to build a couple launch ramps is something. To build a vert ramp.
And I don't remember even doing much skating there. It was just like kind of like walking around, checking everything out. Really cool though. On the way there, the deal was I get shotgun. The youngest will get shotgun, but I had this alpha male in the van. This guy named Josh Swindell, he paid me $20 to get shotgun. And I was like, yes, $20. That went a long way back then. You can actually buy stuff for 25 cents back then.
Right.
And, I made it last.
Okay, that's awesome.
And I was like, hey, sorry, folks. I had to take that deal and sit in the back with other guys.
Nice. So who owned Think Skateboards? Like, where did that? So it was actually out of Dogtown?
No, Think Skateboards was ran out of Ermico. And that was the factory, the area where they made like venture trucks, independent trucks.
In the U.S.?
In the U.S.
Because none of this is made in the U.S. now.
It is still.
No way.
Yeah,
I looked everywhere for a foundry and I couldn't find it.
Or for trucks?
Yeah.
They make them at Deluxe. At their new warehouse. It's right up
in San Francisco.
Second level in San Francisco. They have the molds.
The molten metal. I gotta go there.
You gotta do a tour there, bro.
I gotta do a tour there.
Let's hit up Jim and make this happen. Yeah. Because we gotta educate people on how these trucks are made.
Yeah, we do. I searched and I even found a whole website that talks about these trucks used to be made in the US and now there's no more foundries in the US.
Very interesting.
Yeah, what the?
Yeah, well, maybe that has changed recently.
Oh, who knows?
Yeah, the last time I've been to Deluxe was quite some time ago, but I remember seeing the molds and the molten metal.
That is so wild.
So yeah.
Okay, so I thought Think was originally an SF company.
It was. Yeah, it was. And Keith Cochran, he's the original owner. Greg Karl was like part owner too, and he was like the team manager. So Greg Karl is Mike Carroll's brother.
Right.
If it wasn't for him believing in me at a young age, I would have never got hooked up. And, so went from Think Skateboards, things didn't go well. When you're young, you're impressionable and you have your friends, saying, hey, you should write for this company or write for that company. So I ended up getting on right as they ran an ad for me. Think Skateboards ran an ad for me. I quit. And then I got on New Deal. And I remember Greg Karl coming to my house and explaining to me that ad cost us $4,000.
Oh my
And I was like,
God.
and it really opened my eyes up. And then eventually I got back on Think because I really appreciated them for that.
Yeah.
That was a huge investment
Yeah.
into an ad and I just didn't appreciate it at the time because I didn't know how much effort and how much money went into that.
Yeah.
So eventually I ended up back on Think. And then I got on Stereo. It was just kind of like hopping around until I got picked up by Clean Skateboards. So there's a young man named Kyle. He lived in Reno. His dad was very wealthy. Kyle was very focused, very smart, young man, calm. And his dad gave him this opportunity to create a skateboard company.
Wow.
And so Clean Skateboards, it was me and Jonas Ray. We were the pros.
Okay, so you had already turned pro.
No, I turned pro on Clean.
On Clean, okay.
Prematurely. So I wasn't a professional skateboarder yet, but I was just in the right place, the right time. I had buzz because of of being an ambassador for skaters for all these years, at EMB, and so he respected me. But I turned pro prematurely. Thankfully, I was able to go to Europe in 1995 with Clean and had a good time. And
the contest circuit in Europe?
The contest circuit. We went to England, to Northampton, then we went to Germany. I think it was Munich.
Yeah.
Munich, Germany. Amazing
What
time.
An experience.
What an experience. Especially Germany. It was no joke, man. And I mean, the whole town it turned into a skate park.
Wow.
And nobody hated us. It was just, it's all love, you know what I'm saying? And the skaters in Europe back then were so passionate. Oh my God, they filled up in a whole entire arena of all skaters and just like so much love, so much just involvement.
Yeah. Well, it makes me wonder because probably back then the skateboard media that there existed was probably all coming out of San Francisco EMB. Like this is like almost the epicenter, right? Or is there other?
I feel like back then there were more forms of media.
Oh yeah,
because SF was the mecca of skating. Thrasher was a thing, but it wasn't the thing like it is now.
Yeah, yeah.
You still had Transworld down south in San Diego,
right?
And there were a lot of magazines coming out of Europe that were relevant in their local areas.
Okay,
and
which is so helpful. I gotta say that's the one thing
important.
Unbelievable.
Bro, it was incredible back then. Just so many voices. So many different ways of seeing skateboarding.
And we got to get back to that somehow.
Yeah, I agree. There needs to be more voices in skating. I love Thrasher. Thrasher kills it, of course.
Yeah.
And I saw it when it was different, when it was just more open to other forms of skateboard media.
Okay, so you go on this tour. Europe 1995.
Yeah.
I think they made a 411 video magazine about this. A whole video, right?
Amazing.
Europe 95.
Oh, yeah. I think that's when, maybe I met Tom Penny on that trip in England, Northampton, England, and he was killing it. All the U.S. pros, a lot of the U.S. pros didn't like this guy.
Tom Penny.
Because he was so good and he just didn't care who they were. He didn't care who we were at all.
Yeah.
The top dudes. I wasn't a top dude, but there were other top dudes that I was friends with.
I'm pretty sure you were a top dude.
I
understand what you're saying, but
he did not care at all.
And that upset them.
And he was so focused on just enjoying the ride, and he was really consistent.
Yeah.
And he just didn't give these guys the time of day, and that upset them because they're used to getting so much attention, especially being an American pro in Europe at that time.
Was a big deal.
Everybody's coming at you for your autograph, your photo, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And this dude just high, whatever, he was smoking his hash or something, beanie down low, and he was just ripping.
Doing the best frontside flips.
Yeah.
This is like Tom Penny in his prime. Legendary.
Yeah, legendary.
So you were there to witness that.
I was there to witness it. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a very amazing time in skateboarding.
Wow. Okay. And you were on Clean Skateboards the whole time.
Clean Skateboards, and then eventually that went out of business. And
how did it go out of business?
Let's see. I forgot.
No worries.
Yeah, I was so young. And then we created Profile skateboards.
Profile.
And then I get myself a pro board there, still prematurely a pro, but that was fun. That was like with our friends Stevie Williams, Spencer Fujimoto, Lee Smith, Henry Sanchez was on there. So that was our first go at like trying to do stuff ourselves, making our own graphics,
right,
and being responsible for what came out.
What was that like?
It was great. It was eye opening.
Yeah,
it was eye opening, but it really helped us gain appreciation for people that were doing it.
Yeah,
other companies, because we got to see how difficult the process was.
Yes,
and
not easy.
Not easy at all. So yeah, things went great there, but eventually that went under, and then I was sponsorless for a while, and then I got on Mad Circle. And Mad Circle, since I turned pro prematurely for these, kind of like subpar companies, Mad Circle was like the first legit company I had been on since Think.
Yeah.
And like really legit. So I got on as an amateur, and I had to work myself up to pro status.
Okay.
Which was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I was coming into my own. I was, really loving skateboarding. Around that time, I started reading different books that opened up my mind. I started thinking differently. I was going into nature more. So that's when I started coming into my own. And it was in conjunction with, turning pro for Mad Circle. And that was a great ride. Great time.
Wow. So you were pro, and then you went back to being am, and then you kind of had to work your rankings back up into pro.
Absolutely. To be a real pro.
Yeah. So that's okay. So that's a huge question that gets asked all the time. Like, what is a pro? What makes a professional skateboarder?
That's a good question. So back then, it was hard to get your name on a board.
Yeah.
You had to really earn it. And it was more of like, it was a company making that decision, but it was the community saying, okay, it's ready. Time. Like, so when the shops would ask for your pro board, that's when, the company knew and the community knew, okay, he's ready. So that's what happened with Mad Circle.
Is there like a certain set of rules? Like now I hear like, oh, he needs to have like an add-in thrasher. There's like almost like a set of rules, but it sounds like it's more fluid.
Well, nowadays it's anybody can be pro. Nowadays, I feel like you can just create your own company, turn yourself pro.
Yeah.
But it's going to be similar to what I experienced when I turned pro prematurely. You're not officially a pro until you're a pro on like a very legit company. And the steps that need to be taken to get to that point, I have no idea what it is. But I tell you one thing.
Yeah.
Being focused and not following the crowd and just working on developing your own skills and your own talent will get you there.
And not caring about the pro status.
Yeah, not caring about, if your kickflip is boned out like this dude, or if your pants are a certain way, like that stuff doesn't really matter. As long as you're comfortable and you feel good on the skateboard. I mean, of course, skaters are fashionable.
Yeah.
And if we feel good, we skate good too.
Yeah.
We tend to skate better when we feel good.
That's right.
And the loose pants help out with our mobility. But I've seen skateboarding change styles so much. And I've never been one to follow the trend. So I'm just kind of like, doing my own thing. And, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. I guess I'll wear tighter pants. And then eventually tighter pants were out of style. And I was like, all right, it took my buddy Paul Shire to encourage me to go back to the baggy pants.
What did he say?
He said, Karl. He was just hard. He was just like kind of like hard on me, just like, mate, you need to have the baggy pants, mate. You're like, you look at you, and he had to like think it's good to have friends that are just brutally honest.
Yeah, I love it.
And that's why I love my friend Paul Shire. Today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Paul.
Happy birthday, Paul.
You're the man. I don't know where I'd be without you, my man. But yeah, I've seen skateboarding go through so many different styles.
Yeah, that's why it's so interesting to get to talk to you, because you have seen.
Hey, thank you.
You have seen like everything.
I've seen a lot of change in our industry.
From like the beginnings of street skating, period.
Bro, copers on the trucks. Remember copers?
I had no idea what these were. God. And then I saw an Instagram video of somebody putting PVC on their truck.
Oh my
And then I did that. And then somebody said, Aaron, do you know that's an actual thing? And I had no idea. I'd never heard of that.
I'm surprised that you never heard about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
In Montana, it didn't make it out there, I guess. My first board was a Dogtown. It's a Karma.
Okay.
Karma. I don't know how to say
Karma
it.
to chef.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was so sick. I still have it in my garage. It's like an old school, like fish deck.
You got to send me a photo of that.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, I want to see that.
It's so good. And that was like my first real deck, you know. But then when I went to the skate shop, actual real skate shop, which in Montana was an hour away, and it was called the Ski Station. And what they sold was skis.
Amazing.
And they just had skateboards there. And then I saw the Karma, and I was like, this is sick. You know, it was the Dogtown Cross. Yeah, so good.
That's really interesting you say that, because FTC was originally a golfing store. And it's funny because I'm sure like the owner's son, maybe, or daughter was interested in skateboarding. And said, hey, maybe we should bring a couple skateboards in. And FTC segued in becoming a skateboard shop because the owner's son, Kent, liked skateboarding. He had his little section in the golf store.
Whoa.
And skateboarding took off. And now, you know,
full on.
30 years later, it's a full on, you know, franchise.
Still owned by Kent.
Still owned by Kent.
So FTC, what does it stand for?
For the city.
Is that really?
Yeah. For the city. For the city. That's like the PC version of the acronym.
Was it still named FTC when it was a golf?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. It was on Bush Street. And back then, Kent's father, this guy named Lloyd, very like powerful, dominant Japanese dude.
Yeah.
No, didn't play around.
Yeah.
He didn't like me.
What?
Because I was just a jokester, you know. I was a kid that just like, I don't know if I didn't really follow rules too well, even though I was a good kid.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I was just wild, you know. And something happened where I got kicked out of the store, and then that night somebody broke the window, their front window, and he thought it was me. And so I was out of FTC for like 2 years.
Wow.
Until they moved over to Schrader and Haight. And that's when I was allowed back in because Kent, he knew I didn't do it. But I did go in there some months later on the one on Bush, the original FTC. And then Lloyd came in and they're like, Lloyd's here. So I hid behind some clothes.
No way.
And he found me. And this man,
it's not a good look.
He kicked me in the back.
He did not.
Yes, he was so pissed. He just despised me. And but nothing but love to him and the family because, you know, I didn't deserve that, but maybe I wasn't carrying myself in the way that would have garnered respect for an individual at the time. So, you know, I was easy pickings because of, you know, how wild I was. So he's like, oh, of course it was him.
Sure. You know? Yeah. Okay. So skateboarding, EMB, Hubba Hideout. Now and then we were talking about like when you're thinking about a new trick.
Yeah.
So there's this one trick. I think it's so ridiculously hard. I don't even know what you would call it, but I think it's like, I would call it like a front side no slide 270 out the hard way.
That's exactly what I call it. But people call it the front side no slide pretzel out.
I heard that too.
So interesting. Yeah, that trick, man.
Tell me the story. So if there is a story.
There is a story. So one day we were at Pier 7 just hanging out and Stevie Williams was there. He's like, you know, it'd be cool to do a switchback tail and turn all the way out. And I was like, oh, that would be amazing, dude.
Turn out 270 the hard way.
Turn out 270. And I was like, In my mind, I was like, what if I simplified it and did a front side, no slide, turn out 270?
Same kind of direction on the slide, same foot.
Exactly. Same foot, just when to me in my mind, being in the front side no slide position, you're already wound up to turn out 270, as opposed to switchback tail and turn out. That's a way harder trick. So I took that and I was like, man, that's interesting. Then I learned it at Pier 7, and I really wanted to showcase this new, different trick at a spot that would get the correct notoriety, you know, the correct attention.
Right.
So I picked Hubba Hideout. And I was like, I mean, that's the spot to do it at because it's a new trick at a legendary spot, proving ground.
Right.
And it took a few times going back there, but eventually I did it.
How many times? How many tries? What was that battle?
Well, I went there with Anthony Van Engelen one night, and we were filming for the Transworld video. Lit it up with lights. He was trying to switch front crook, and I was trying to frontside no slide 270. I landed on it, slipped out, fell, looked like a wet cat, just kind of like flinging all over the place.
Yeah.
And they ended up they had like a slam section, but it was more like a really close, almost make section.
Yeah.
So I got that trick in the almost make section
of the Transworld video.
I wasn't too happy about it because it's like, okay, now people can see it and it's out there in the world.
Oh.
So then I did it eventually. And
wow. So it was already made it in a video.
Already made it in a video.
Before you even landed the trick.
Before the make.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, very brutal. And I mean, Channy had like nollie back overcook on a handrail and just like almost making it. So many almost tricks, groundbreaking tricks for the time.
Yeah.
And
so then when did you go back and what video was that?
I went back soon after, and I believe the first video it was in FTC's penal code. So I had a part in that. They, they showcased me. They did some like lifestyle stuff, and along with other people, used 16 millimeter to film everything and all the lifestyle stuff. And it was just the very first video I was in that was it was just like it really showcased like what I can do.
Right. See, back then it was almost like, I'm getting this. I remember seeing that clip in the Transworld video, and I would have been living in Montana as a young kid and just seeing like it's just like, I don't know, mind blowing.
Oh man.
But back in the day, it was like you would wait years for the video to come out, years and years and years. And then when it came out, it was like Christmas Day. You put that video in and you were just like mind blown. You would rewind it, watch it again. And now every second on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of like what you're saying, desensitized. But I don't know. I feel like people aren't making the videos like they used to. I don't know. How do we bring it back?
Really interesting, Aaron. I don't think there is no return to
You don't think so?
No way. Because nowadays, you know what I feel like needs to happen is a different approach to skateboarding as a whole and how we market, because it's not about who has the best tricks. It's not about who goes the biggest. It's about like the love of skateboarding, the fun elements. Of course, we want to showcase the people that are pushing our sport, you know, to new levels.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't be the focal point anymore. The focal point should be on the novices. Like these guys that are really good should be teaching the new skaters.
Right.
Because skating has progressed to such a point that it's hard for the novice to understand what's going on. You know,
so hard.
So it's really important to take a few steps back and put focus and attention on the foundational steps that a skater has to learn to become a good skater. Because otherwise we're going to lose them, you know, with the level of difficulty. And it's just like, I'm never going to get as good as Nyjah. But, you know, Nyjah didn't start off good. He, you know, when I first met him when he was 7 years old, you know, I got Nyjah his very first package back in the day. He was 7 years old skating at Vans Park in San Jose with his whole family. And all he would do was push around, pump around the park and do back 180s.
Yeah.
That was his trick. Back 180, back 180, back 180, dreads flying around. That was his trick.
Yeah.
And eventually, because he mastered the back 180, he was able to do like back lifts and so many other tricks based off of that, the foundation of understanding the fundamental principles of the back 180 and the ollie.
Right.
But yeah, his father was just like, yeah, just have fun and, you know, do this stuff. Like, yeah.
So what was his first package? How did you get him that?
I got him, his very first package was from Satori Wheels. And that's the company that's still around. We recycle wheels now. Super important for our environment. But yeah, he got it. That was that day I met him and he met Reese Forbes.
Wow.
Too. And Reese Forbes rode for Element. I introduced him and his dad to Reese at the park that day. And then he ended up getting on Element because of that introduction.
No way.
Yep.
You're like at the right place in the right time. I'm starting to think that you're creating all these things as just the mastermind of the skateboard industry.
No.
We wouldn't have Nyjah Huston if it wasn't for you.
Well, you know, I was definitely integral to, him becoming part of the industry so young.
Yeah, that's
And I was a really close friend with the family. I would go on these missions with his family where we'd be skating until like 4 a.m, lighting stuff up. His dad he was so driven, and Nyjah's personality, wanting to please his dad and wanting to he just had this thing about him where he was able to learn and able to like have no fear and step up to the plate. And that combined with his father's drive was just a match made in heaven.
An unbelievable combination.
Unbelievable combination. And then I remember his dad built a skate park for his kids by hand, all by himself, built the skate park in 3 months.
Whoa.
It was called Frontline Skate Park. And
right, in Sacramento.
In Woodland, yeah, right by Sacramento.
Okay.
Sacramento. And Nyjah's ability on his skateboard it was a quantum leap to like the new Nyjah.
Right.
So we hadn't really seen each other much around that time. And I remember him saying, hey, we want to skate some street spots in the city. So I had these spots lined up and they came out, and I learned very fast that Nyjah's ability had just grown tenfold.
Taken off.
And that the spots that I was taking him to, his dad wasn't interested in them. They were little kid spots. And so, man, his ability just grew so fast because of that skate park. He was able to learn so many tricks, and
step it up on the rails.
Yeah, and then the way his dad did it, he had the small rail, the medium size rail, and like the bigger rail, I think, in there.
Yeah.
It was like there were steps.
So he built a park specifically designed to progress. That's what I'm trying to do with Braille.
Specifically designed to progress.
That is
exactly.
Cool.
And that's why I love your park. Here, it's like I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, because you have so many different angles and so much stuff you can have fun with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys did a great job with the space that you had.
Yeah.
I even like the old park too.
Yeah. And I want to make it a place where people can come in and go like, I don't know how to do anything. Let me learn how to ride off a curb.
There you go.
And then 2-stair. And then we got the 3-stair. That progression is so important.
That's what it's all about, Aaron.
Because that kid, that was one of those kids at the skate park. He was doing back 180s. And you said, that was a sick back 180. Now that's Nyjah Huston.
Yeah. And that's funny you say that. He was a kid at the skate park doing the back 180s, uber focused and not caring about what was going on, not caring about the cool kid at the park.
Yeah.
Because he was just focused on having fun, focused on perfecting his skills.
And you were able to see that in him then?
Oh, yeah.
How do you see? Okay. Okay.
First of all, a little kid with dreads flying around was definitely different for that time.
Yeah.
So that caught my attention. And then it's just this beautiful, large family of skateboarders. I was like, wow, like this is incredible. So me and his father just hit it off right off the bat because of that.
Yeah.
And I saw something in him early on. And I was able to like help navigate and guide his father and the family on, steps to take.
Yeah.
But then eventually he surpassed my understanding of what can be accomplished in skateboarding or what can be earned, because I remember Nyjah being so young, and he's already getting like, don't take this the wrong way, but he was getting paid like $20,000 a month from Element as an AM.
Whoa.
Because his dad really understood the worth of his son.
Yeah.
And he used it as leverage.
So his dad was sort of his manager and said,
definitely his manager. And his dad is funny because I owned Organica skateboards at the time.
Yes.
And his dad really didn't want to have anything to do with Organica because we were a small company and he had, bigger visions. So, Element was perfect. They were super big, successful.
Yes.
And that it was just like a match made in heaven for Nyjah and his family at the time.
Yeah. Well, the idea of getting paid $20,000 as an AM, the idea of getting paid $20,000 as a pro,
huge,
is a big deal.
And I've been pro for a number of years and I never made it to that mark, with skateboarding, like you can make that money doing real estate, other things, but it's hard to make that kind of money within skateboarding.
Yeah. It's very, very uncommon.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that is important for people to understand. They think, oh, you got your name on your board. You're a millionaire.
Oh,
It's like almost like an instant, like that's what people think.
well, also owning a skate company, owning a skate shop, everybody always thinks that you're rich, you're
Yes.
successful, and you're trying to take advantage of them.
Right.
And it's like, nah, bro, like we're just barely getting by. The profit margins for a boarder is very low, and it's hard to make a buck.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is really, really, I get that all the time.
So yeah, kids don't, the fact that Nyjah made that much money at that time, it was definitely, specific to him and his abilities and the time in which the industry was at.
Yeah.
The place in which the industry was at.
Yeah. Incredible. Incredible. Okay. So then he basically just went on to do his own thing.
Yeah. I mean, his documentary is coming out soon, and I'm a big part of the documentary.
Oh, really?
So the story will be
You're
told.
literally
So yeah, Ty Evans is actually the guy behind that. So it's going to be good.
Amazing. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, which reminds me of the story that Paul Schmidt told me. He said that he had been making Nyjah's boards ever since he was a little boy, and he would literally say, he would take Nyjah's height, and then he would say, here's what your wheelbase is going to be. Then the next year he grows a couple inches, and Paul Schmidt takes the height and extends the board. And
even till this day.
Yes, even to this day.
Even till this day.
I know. And then I tell people, Paul Schmidt's the best skateboard maker in the entire world. And
he really is.
He is, hands down.
He is.
And then people are like, no, that's not the best board. And I'm like, you don't know.
Yeah, it's really interesting with Paul. I mean, that's truly his passion.
You cannot talk to him without
Dr. Schmidt.
Yes.
He understands everything about the skateboard, and he has so many different shapes like thousands of shapes access to.
Yeah.
And I love working with those guys.
Yeah, me too.
My buddy Julio De La Cruz is over there, making things possible for the small business owners like myself. So thank you, Julio.
Yeah, talk about your businesses. I also want to know all about Organica.
Oh yeah.
Where did it start? How did it come from? Like, I remember when Organica was like I thought Organica was a massive company, first of all.
So Organica, here's my tattoo of the logo. I got that tattoo when the company was in its 13th year of business.
13 years of business with Organica.
Well, total 15 years.
Okay.
So yeah.
And this is out of KO. You tell the story.
Okay, it's pretty cool because Organica came about organically. No pun intended. Organica came about because I was on Expedition. And Expedition, after Mad Circle, I didn't have a sponsor for a while, and I just happened to see this amazing series of ads in this one Transworld. I was like, wow, this company is awesome. They're doing things differently. They have these ads of their guys and with smoke behind them and the logo on their shirt and black background. Super cool.
That was Mad Circle ads.
No, that was Expedition 1.
Expedition 1.
So they had like 4 ads throughout the magazine. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, they caught my attention. So I called a number, and then I ended up talking to my buddy Troy Morgan, the owner, and the team was full, and that's so interesting. So at that point, and one thing that caught my attention was that the team had 2 black guys on the team, Stefan Laurence and Alfonso Rawls.
Okay.
And so back then, that was a very rare thing to do because usually it was just like, it was very typical. You had, one black guy on the team. It was just how things were in skateboarding, and then, or one Latino guy, whatever it was.
Yeah.
That's just how it was.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that there's 2 brothers on the team, I was like, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I hit him up, and it was it was a very weird thing. And I don't think Troy meant to do, it wasn't his, it wasn't like the reason why I got on, but eventually like the old Expedition started changing and they wanted to revamp the team. Mm-hmm. So it was like a trial period where I was on, filming for them, not getting paid. And then Stefan Laurence, they kind of shelved him, and Alfonso Rawls just did his own thing. He was part owner, but he went off to do his own thing. And, we rebuilt the team, and I was like, one of the only brothers on the team. And that was interesting, but I kind of went off on a tangent. the point I was trying to make, was talking about the creation of Organica. So
Yeah.
Expedition, I rode for them. Thankfully, Troy believed in me, gave me a pro model. Everything was going good. And then I got approached by World Industries. World Industries hit me up to ride for them. And they gave me a really good offer, a super good offer.
Contract money,
a car payment for a BMW.
No way.
And
throw it in the mix.
I saw it and I was like, okay, how am I going to have the most longevity? It's not taking this quick money, this fast money. So I showed Troy the contract and I was like, I'm not going to do it, but this is what they offer me. And at that time I was getting like $1,000 a month. And
which was probably huge.
Which was huge at the time, for skateboarding.
Yes.
And he was like, okay, I'm going to honor you and for honoring us and being loyal. And we can start a wheel company together. So the idea for Organica started off as a wheel company.
Whoa.
And then we came out with this one board that did really good on Expedition. It was my very last pro model on Expedition. It said organically grown. And had all these leaves on there.
Yeah.
It did really, really, really good. And Troy was like, hey, we should start a board company.
Yeah.
I feel like you have what it takes to be the guy, to lead a board company.
Because that board sold well.
Did so well.
And you knew the numbers because you were getting
I didn't really know that. I didn't really know the numbers. Okay. I was like on the outskirts. Troy did all the business.
Okay. So he knew the numbers. So he knew.
Numbers. Yeah.
Oh, because it was part of Expedition, which he was running.
Yeah, well, that organically grown board was an Expedition board.
Right.
Yeah, so when we decided to do a board company, I got super stoked, and I did not want to make it anything that was connected to my personal life.
Sure.
Which was that was the catalyst to organically grown board because I liked eating, still like eating natural foods. And,
yeah.
So I wanted to call it like altered states of mind. And, but eventually Troy convinced me that Organica was the right way to go, and to have a board that's based off of your lifestyle, a board company that's based off of your lifestyle is the way to go.
Yeah.
And it did well, I mean, I believed in him and listened to Troy. He's a freaking, excuse my language. He's a visionary.
Yeah.
He truly is. And he taught me a lot. And I really appreciate Troy for everything that he's done for skateboarding, done for me. Eventually, Organica wasn't carrying its own weight. And Troy, being the person that he is, he would like rob Peter to pay Paul. He would take money from other companies that were doing well within KO and to help keep Organica afloat.
Right.
And eventually, it was just like, hey, like, I didn't want to see him suffer anymore and do this. He was just sacrificing so much to keep, a company that wasn't doing well around. And so we called it, and that was like a very interesting, pivotal point in my life, because that's when my first skateboard came about. I got like a normal job.
That's heartbreaking.
Well, it was good.
Was
Aaron,
it?
Yeah, because
tell me everything.
Because once that happened, I was a little wet behind the ears with with work in the real world, and one thing that was really interesting is that I learned the fact that your notoriety within skateboarding doesn't carry over to the rest of the world.
Right.
So that was super humbling.
Right.
But I was already humble. I was already humble.
Yes.
But it was still humbling, like, wow, like, but I knew that was the case, but to be smacked in the face with that, it's a very hard lesson for a lot of skaters to face.
Huge. Most people don't.
They kind of, I've seen dudes go crazy over this stuff because I never put myself above my fellow skater because I was sponsored or because I had my name on a board.
Yeah.
I didn't let that get to my head.
Yes.
And so I was always able to connect with a skater at any, who was at any skill level,
right.
beginner or amazing, whatever. So that helped me to be able to navigate, working in the real world and talking to, your average person and creating connections with these people.
Right.
And eventually, like after grinding out and, working, I got a job with Adidas. And that's been 6 years now. And thank you, Paul Shire. Thank you, Nyjah Moeller. Appreciate you guys for believing in me and giving me this platform to continue to bless up and coming skateboarders with product, and give skaters an opportunity to showcase their talents. So thank you guys at Adidas for this.
Shout out Adidas.
Big time. So they actually helped me after I self-published my book. For about 8 months, I was going around to publishers, telling them the story, like, it's going to do good. I'm a pro skater in the industry. I got this history.
Yeah.
And this is something that like skate shops don't have.
Yeah.
Like we can do a really good job. Nobody believed in it. So I just had to save the money and I self-published this myself. I made, I made 3,000 copies, and it's pretty risky.
Yeah, extremely risky. 3,000 copies, not cheap.
Not cheap. And Henry Jones and I, we talked about whether or not the main character was going to have a helmet.
Yeah.
And we were like, yes, that's super important because we want to promote safety and skateboarding and this and that. But because of the helmet, I didn't think it was going to do good at the core level.
Okay.
And to my surprise, the book, it sold out immediately. Like the Barracks helped out a lot with that and did really, really well initially. And that's what, that's what kept the book around. But on our second run, Adidas actually helped us pay for the printing of our second book. So
okay, that
awesome. Was huge. And this is why Jonas
rocking the Adidas.
So
what's your role at Adidas?
I work in the sports marketing department, and thankfully I'm able to be somewhat of a gatekeeper, along with Paul Shire, with like the people that we start giving shoes to. So I'm able to see talent in somebody and recommend that we give them shoes, and then Paul will check them out and be like, okay, yeah, let's see what we can do with them. Then
it's like a team manager kind of position.
Yeah, team manager. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So
you see tell me everything.
Oh yeah. I mean,
you see somebody.
It's not much. It's just like, it's a process. I see somebody that I'm interested in, I'll run it by Paul, and then run it by, pretty much he's like the go-to. Like,
right.
He's, Paul is very picky. And we've gotten to our situations where I think somebody's dope and he doesn't.
Yeah.
And eventually, I learned that he was right. Like the person doesn't really work out. So he's like a filter for me. And it's a great relationship.
Wow. I love that. I have 1,000 questions though.
Yeah.
So you see somebody and you're like, I like his skating ability. I like the way he carries himself. I like whatever he's doing. And then you'll say, I'm going to send this guy some free Adidas shoes.
Yeah.
And then you run it by Paul. And then Paul says,
before I send them shoes.
Yeah. Before you send them the shoes. Yes. And then Paul says, yeah or no.
Yeah. But now I know what
he's looking for.
What he likes.
Okay. So for all the thousands of kids out there that they want to be sponsored, what are they looking for?
Well, you got to be an individual.
Yes.
First and foremost, you got to have your own style that resonates at your own frequency. You can't be a follower in any way.
Right.
And with my man Paul, he's the one that told me I got to loosen up my pants. So you got to have the right kit. You got to naturally have the clothing that fits the vibe of Adidas skateboarding and what my man Paul likes. And so if you check off all those boxes, good trick selection, good style.
Good trick selection, good style.
Good gear.
Somebody's taking notes right now.
Yeah, good gear.
Good gear and a good kit.
Good, yeah.
You got to look sick. Yeah. That's something I would never think about.
But it has to be natural.
Yes.
It can't be something that's just a farce, you know? So all these things have to be in line before I even bring them up to Paul. And because, I mean, when I first started, I was like, vying for guys that didn't really fit, because I wanted more of a broad spectrum of skaters for, because Adidas is such a big corporation.
Yeah.
I just really wanted to, get more people from the industry. But these guys have really worked hard to create the vibe of Adidas skateboarding, and they're steadfast in making sure that it stays in line with, what Adidas skateboarding stands for. So,
right.
You got to be an individual. You got to, resonate at your own frequency. That's what it takes. You can't be a follower. You just got to be a person that understands who they are ultimately, just like you.
You think so?
No, you've never been a follower. You've always paved your own lane. And that's why I admire you,
Thank you. What's up, everyone? Let me take a quick break here to tell you about Braille Army Plus, the membership platform designed by me to teach you how to ride a skateboard. Have you ever been wondering, man, if I just knew the correct technique to do this kickflip, I could get it? Or maybe you thought to yourself, if I just had Aaron Cairo to teach me how to ollie, I know I could land this. Well, I designed the Braille Army Plus membership for that thing specifically. You sign up on brailleskateboarding.com/army and you can get started messaging me on the members only Discord right away. You can send me a clip and ask me, hey Aaron, what am I doing wrong with this? And I will tell you the exact technique, the exact practice step. I'll even tell you exactly what you should be doing each and every day to improve in your skateboarding over a long period of time. If you're practicing the correct tricks in the correct way, I 100% guarantee that you will be progressing on your skateboard. So join the best group on the entire internet and join Braille Army Plus. brailleskateboarding.com/army. I'll see you in there shredding. Thanks for checking it out, and now back to the interview. It's tough. I can tell you, man. There's so many times when I'm doing my own thing and people are hating, saying don't do, and it's just like I'm making a documentary with Andy Anderson.
Okay.
And it's incredible to get his story because, like back in the day, he would go on trips and they would take his helmet, piss in the helmet, hide the helmet. They would do anything they could do to get rid of that helmet. And he would go to like a dollar store and find a makeshift helmet and wear the helmet. It was almost like this is what I'm going to do no matter what.
Put up with a lot of flack too.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Tony Hawk documentary?
No.
Oh my God. On HBO?
No. I got to see that.
It's amazing.
Really?
Because I didn't realize that he dealt with a lot of flack when he was coming up as a new skater and emerging onto the scene with all these guys who had all the flair, all the style, and he was a trickster, or whatever they called him. But he would go to these contests being a really skinny guy, doing all his flip tricks, and then he has these powerful men that were flying around, laid back Smith grinds, just like gnarly dudes.
Yeah.
They hated him.
That's right.
They would boo at him. They would throw beer cans at him when he was in the bowl.
Right.
But we owe a lot to Tony Hawk because our industry wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for him. And the fact that he was resilient enough to deal with all that flack and then rise above and continue to be who he is.
Yeah.
Great story. Highly recommend you watching it. Thank you, Tony, for all of the years of dedication
Tony.
you put into skateboarding, bro.
Yes.
Yeah, we wouldn't be where we're at without you, brother.
Right. Completely incredible. And the thing is, most people in that scenario will just say, this is too much. I'm out of here. I'm going to work at the bank 9 to 5. Get me out of here.
This is one thing as a community we got to get past. And it's like that hazing thing, when you see somebody like a lot of older pros have a hard time seeing the newer guys come up under them.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I never really had that in me. And I've always been congratulatory to the, new skaters coming up and, wanting to just watch and learn and appreciate. But a lot of the new older pros, have a hard time because they feel like their position is being jeopardized.
Threatened. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is like literally like their financial position. They lose their jobs, they lose their income. And it's so hard. That's why like you're saying 15 years of Organica and then it was gone. I mean, that for you to keep going forward after that is, can you talk about that?
Well, that's funny you say that. My oldest son, Elon, he really appreciates how resilient I have been and how just diligent I have been in the industry. Honestly, it's just all about understanding your strengths and working with them, because I was never like growing up as a skater. I had certain abilities that I had, and other talents that other skaters had. Like I couldn't do what they did. I couldn't do really good back tails. So many tricks that I couldn't do, but I just focused on my own personal abilities, and that brought me to where I'm at now. Like, for example, I've never done a flip out of any manual. I've never done a flip out of any slide. I've only done a flip trick into the manuals or slide. Till this day, I've never done a nose manual nollie flip.
Whoa.
Never done a nose slide, nollie heel, or nollie flip. So maybe next time you see me on Braille, it'll be my man Aaron teaching me how to flip out of something.
100%. And you need to teach me how to slappy.
Okay, let's get it. I like that. Deal.
Yeah, I like that too.
You know?
Okay, that's interesting. Now that you mentioned that, I see that. But you would do nollie 180, switch nose mani 180 out the hard way in the line.
So because of my lack of talent ultimately, and just being able to focus on the talents that I do have, I learned that twisting in and out of tricks was my thing.
Yeah.
Because of the way I'm shaped, I'm super, I was really long and lanky back then, and just, my arms were really long. And when I would twist in certain ways, it added to like the style that I had. So the viewer, the person viewing the trick would like what they saw, because I would look a certain way with my style. I'd twist it up. And so I learned that was my angle.
Wow.
And
I love that.
And a lot of people didn't focus on the twisty, windy stuff, the pretzel stuff, because they're focused on what other people are doing.
Yeah, but it's also just so sick because you found this thing that was so different. And I feel like you are like a revolutionary in those tricks.
Thank you.
Now you got Mark Suchu doing these tricks. All these kinds of people
First
are doing
person
these
that comes to mind, Mark Suchu.
Yeah, so good.
Does it now.
And it's just, I don't know. Like you were like, if you didn't do that, I don't know.
Sheesh.
If people did not see that, if they would have had that idea, oh, let's do it like this. Because back in the day, everything was new, and now.
Yeah. Well, I did make up a lot of tricks, but the difference between me and Mark Suchu is like Mark has in all the ability in the world, all of the talent in the world. He can do any trick he wants to.
Anything.
No
Literally
limitations
anything.
whatsoever. So I'm honored that he chooses to do some tricks that are similar to the tricks that I like to do.
Yeah.
Honored. Thanks, Mark.
So good. Shout out Max Allure.
Yeah. Good job, Max Allure.
Okay. So Max Allure is your board brand.
Yes. Max Allure is owned by me, Little Dre.
Little Dre's part owner.
Part owner. Tafari Witter's part owner.
No way.
My childhood friend, the reason why I'm here, Nick Lockman. And then two other owners, Eric and Charles. They're the big guys that own the wood factory that we work with.
Nice.
So yeah. It's been going on since 2017 now, so 6 years.
Super cool. So, and you get to help these. I just see these young skaters.
Man.
Shout out Jonathan Perez. Shout out Little Dre.
Yeah,
you guys are amazing.
Thank you very much. It's I just wanted to provide a platform for these young men, women to showcase their talents, and wanted Dre and Tafari to be part owner, because maybe if Max Allure becomes something, they have something to fall back on.
Right.
So.
Which is important in skateboarding.
It's super important. And that leads me to the next topic. I mean, I'm sure you have other questions, but it's really important for skateboard companies to prepare their skaters for what's to come. So one thing I would like to highlight is skaters that go to school, finish college, that develop a skill outside of skateboarding that can actually provide a source of income, or a way out after their skateboard career may or may not end.
Right.
Super important. Skateboarding is not the end all be all, and it's really hard for skaters we spend all of this time and focus on learning how to skate. It takes a lot of effort.
Huge.
I mean, 10,000 hours is an understatement, right?
Right.
All right. So But it's also important to develop other skills while you're learning skating
Right.
because, when you put all of your eggs into one basket, it's hard to survive like that if that basket spills over.
Yeah, and when that basket spills over, it's a mental toll, an unbelievably hard mental toll
It really
to
is,
go
Aaron.
through. And to make that transition is really, really tough.
Especially if becoming a good skateboarder give you like somewhat of an inflated ego
Mm,
and unrealistic perception of yourself within the world at large.
right.
It can be detrimental once your position is taken away. So it's super, as company owners, as community leaders in our skateboard world, it's important to share with young skaters that hey, this may not be like your treasure at the end of the rainbow or whatever it is. It's important to find to learn other skills
Yeah.
and develop other skills to yeah, you
Yeah,
get the point.
it's an interesting topic though,
I'm
because
redundant right now.
I feel like it's a good thing to talk about, and I feel like not enough people are talking about it. And then you start to see it now. I think it's becoming more prevalent on social media because you have this pro skater who has, let's say 1 million Instagram followers.
Mm-hmm.
And then overnight, he no longer has a shoe sponsor, no longer a board sponsor. And now he's going, what do I do with my life? I mean, I'll just shout out Mikey Taylor. He's the one that comes to mind first. And now he's made this whole transition into real estate. I see a lot of these guys doing real estate.
Yeah.
And now he's like sharing financial advice and various things like that, which is just another thing that like,
It's amazing. Well, Mikey's a good example.
yeah,
He's a good example because I feel like he bowed out early enough to where he was able to segue to an actual career
yeah,
and still retain respect in the skateboard industry
yeah,
and also, still able to feed his family. So it's an interesting transition that he made. And, he's created a group of a real estate group that consists of mostly skaters.
yeah.
So Mikey Taylor not only is a skater, but he empowers skateboarders to, learn how to become real estate agents and make money selling homes.
Yeah.
And also
So,
other stuff.
yeah,
I love what he does.
yeah, it's so rad. And then he ran for city council and now he's a city councilman. And you're going, whoa,
I didn't know that.
yeah, full
Holy
on.
cow.
This man can do anything.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of skaters may like hate on that kind of stuff.
Exactly. They
But
will.
but you'll learn not to hate on it when you find yourself in a position where you're like, how am I gonna pay my rent?
Yeah,
How
that's right.
how am I gonna put food on my family's table?
Right.
So skating is definitely the best activity in the world, hands down, because it really is a tool that brings people together, and it saved my life. But it's not like the only aspect of life. You gotta consider other things and develop your skills outside of skating.
Right, exactly.
You know?
And for anybody who's like coming up in the skateboard world, I think you can have that like big goal of like you want to be the next Nyjah Huston. Great. Like have that, like put that there, but don't make it, don't make your skateboarding about that. You got to make it about your self growth, your self mastery.
Self mastery. I like that.
I don't know how else we push out that message other than just talk about it. And I think the financial thing is also like a very important thing to think about because I think a lot of times these people will go, well, I'm going to get sponsored. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a pro skateboard millionaire. And then they're not. And then they're like, wait, this isn't what I thought. I left college for this. This sucks.
Well, Aaron, you're touching on something I feel is like part of the reason why skateboarding may be on somewhat of a decline is because these perceptions of becoming a pro skater and becoming a rich pro skater are being debunked. They're being shown to the world like, okay, this is not the reality of what a pro skater is.
Yeah.
Because this guy who I follow and I respect, he had the 1 million followers, he had the fancy car, now he has no sponsor, and things have changed for this guy.
Right.
So it's interesting because the allure of becoming a skateboarder, I feel like the last push, because of Rob Dyrdek and all that stuff he did for us. Thank you, Rob, for bringing skateboarding to the limelight, just like Tony Hawk. But I feel like his story made people want to become skaters because they thought they were going to become pro and become rich. And because
Interesting. Why out of all the people, Rob Dyrdek?
Well, he put skating on, on the grand stage with Fantasy Factory and stuff. And clearly he's been doing well for himself for a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's just super uber driven.
He's a wild business
kind of guy.
He's a different animal entirely.
Different kind of guy. So I feel personally that, people that were introduced to skateboarding because of him and all the fun things that he was doing might have had the wrong perception of what it is to be a pro skater.
Right.
And now that, being a pro skater is not synonymous with being rich, I feel like people are starting to kind of bow out because to get good, for one, is very difficult. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. And even if you get good nowadays, you may not get sponsored because, hey, you don't have the right pants or you're not with the right crew. So skateboarding is a fickle activity when it comes to like these things. So it's always best to just skate for fun.
Yes.
And for your peers, your friend group and stuff like that. Super important. Blessing to have skateboarding, to have friends. Like that's a really amazing thing. And that's one thing about the peer group, it doesn't matter when you have your friends. It doesn't matter if Johnny is good, because we respect him as a person, as an individual, as an individual. And if he does like a kickflip for the first time, we're all stoked.
That's right.
That's all. And it doesn't even matter. You could be, like I shot people that are at, the high level of their ability on a skateboard.
Yeah.
They have friends that are barely learning how to ollie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of skateboarding, because we can have, it's just all about your friend group and, developing your skills and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it breaks down those barriers, all skill levels, all ability levels.
Exactly.
Get rid of all the preconceived notions, the race, the religion, just throw it out the window. Everybody's doing tricks.
Yeah, those preconceived notions, man, get rid of them.
Just get it out of here. And it's funny, because all these rules and various things get developed, and at the end of the day, it's like we're riding a piece of wood with wheels. This is a toy.
It's a toy.
So let's literally have fun and just...
think about that.
Yeah.
Then we developed the concave to do tricks, and we make these subtle changes, but skaters are reluctant to make big changes with the skateboard.
Right.
And I feel like that's maintained the integrity of the skateboard over all these years.
Yeah.
The fact that we are hard about, we're very judgmental about like what we change.
The slightest little change.
So my buddy, Troy Morgan, my old partner, he made an amazing invention called interlock. Do you remember interlock?
No.
So I don't know why this didn't stick, but when I saw that, I swear I wanted to cry. I was so excited. I was like, this is going to change skateboarding forever.
Yeah.
People still talk about it.
Interlock.
So he created a 7-ply board. The first 2 plies, top plies, had no holes in it. So it was like a process where they made a 5-ply board. They drilled the holes. They put these inserts in that had threads.
Okay.
So then they put the final 2 plies on, which had no holes. Made the board so strong.
Really?
So instead of having to do the nut and the screw, different tools,
you just screw it in.
Screw it in from the bottom. The one pitfall was that it would become loose because of of gravity and the vibration of the board. So, but the boards were the best boards in the world.
Really?
So strong.
Still wood.
Still wood. So sturdy because of the not having those 2 holes in the top 2 plies. Incredible invention. Every time I talk to him, I'm like, man, you got to bring that stuff back, bro. Like, man.
Yeah, maybe. What era was that? What year?
That was around 2003, 2004, 2005-ish.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, now with the internet, it might be a different place. You never know. If you want to make a video on Braille skateboarding, let me know. We love new inventions.
Yes, I like to see them.
Yeah, so fascinating. So what do you think about the flight decks, Powell flight decks?
Oh, what do they consist of?
I don't even know.
Well, Powell, I have to say, Powell's always been able to create boards like that withstood the test of time.
Yeah.
So I remember they had bonite back in the day. There was like a sheet of some kind of this material that they created.
Yeah.
It was like a black sheet. They put it in between the plies.
I think that's basically
Oh,
what.
similar.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I want to say it's carbon fiber, but I don't. I think
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
a highly guarded secret of what it actually is. But
Is it pretty good? And
yeah,
boards last?
yeah, they do
Okay.
last. They're thinner. They're lighter.
Oh, they're
You can
thinner.
run them over with a
Oh,
car.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, you can drive a car on the board and it will go to the ground and it won't break.
Oh,
And
wow.
it'll come back up and it's still
Skatable, still good pop and
solid.
everything.
Yeah.
Do you ride those boards?
No. No, I don't. But I just think they're an interesting, like,
very interesting.
yeah. There are some downfalls, like I think it razor tails faster.
Oh,
You can,
okay.
like, cut yourself on the razor tail with
thanks.
Yeah, stuff like that gets different.
Thanks.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting, like, innovation in the skateboard world. So how did you go about picking the team for Max Allure?
That's a good question. How did I go about picking the team for Max Allure? It was like natural, and it was created out of necessity because Little Dre, Jonathan Perez, Tafari, 3 young individuals that I watched grow up. I had, a hand in their upbringing and everything. And I noticed that they didn't have a board sponsor.
Mm.
And so it was Max Allure was created out of necessity. And crazy story, those three individuals, like Tafari Witter, his mom and his grandfather owned this place called Reggae Run-Ins in San Francisco. And I would go there and get like tofu burgers, and they sold food in the front and then all this like African reggae stuff in the back, right? Really dope store.
Yeah.
And so I met Tafari when he was really young, and I gave him his first board when he was 3 years old. It was an Organica board. So time went on. Then Little Dre and Tafari lived in the same area, and Little Dre was his father noticed that Tafari was a skateboarder, and so Dre's father wanted Dre to become a skater. So he would talk to Tafari, and eventually Tafari gave Dre his first skateboard.
Whoa,
So,
here you are again.
And then Jonathan Perez, I was living in Richmond, California at the time. I left my house to go pick my son up from school, and I take a right, go block down, and I see these 2 kids at the bus stop with these boards.
Yeah.
Janky boards, right? Jonathan Perez and our buddy Charles, rest in peace, Charles. And I was like, hey, you guys are skaters, cool. They were only 12 at the time, and I was like, man, I got something for you. So I went to the house real quick. I was like, just stay here. I got like board and trucks or some stuff, as much stuff as I can come up with.
Yeah.
And I brought it back to them and gifted it to them, told them where I live at. And then eventually Jonathan was just a natural. He got super good, super fast. So I would bring him on sessions and just try to introduce him to skating, but he was already on this trajectory. Like he was just destined to be a great skater.
Yeah. So good.
And, oh my God. So good. So yeah, I played a role in, all 3 of these individuals' upbringing.
Literally starting skateboarding, period.
And when Dre got good, really good, I got him on Organica. They all actually wrote for Organica.
Oh, wow.
At some point. So Max Allure, that's how it came about. It's really like a family affair, and it was truly born out of love for each other and the necessity to have a home for us to showcase our skills.
Yeah, good. I love that. Shout out Max Allure. You guys working on a video?
We're not working on a video at the moment, but we should be.
You're always working on something.
Yeah.
Video part coming soon.
Yes.
3 years, 5 years, you never know.
Yeah, our next thing that we have coming out, we did a collaboration with Adidas at the end of last year. Went really well.
Sick.
Created like a movie, and good budget, great stuff we did. My oldest son, he was the director of photography on set.
Whoa.
Really cool. He got paid well. And our next collaboration we have is coming out with LRG Clothing, and that is going to be dope. Can't wait for that one to come out.
Oh yeah, LRG Clothing.
Yeah.
So that was a brand, and then it went away, and now it's coming back.
So yeah, it was a brand started by my late friend Jonas, rest in peace. and this guy Robert. And so at that time, so this is funny, kids. Like when it comes to picking your path, never pick the path that looks attractive because of money. And maybe it is the right path that you choose, and the money's there. That's cool.
Yeah.
But when I was faced with the opportunity to ride for LRG back in like the early 2000s, they were a small company. They, had no reputation yet. And I also had the opportunity to ride for Quicksilver. And, it was up my alley too. They had a check for me. But because of me believing in the owners of LRG and loving their designs and seeing something in them, I picked the company that wasn't paying any money.
Right.
And I ended up being with them for 13 years.
Wow.
Until I left to pursue doing Organica clothing.
Right.
And I got back on recently after, they stopped being in skateboarding. They remained a company, being a company.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, definitely. And very successful still, and we just brought back the skate team recently.
Oh, wow.
And, starting slow. Got me, Chico Bernes, Kelly Hart, and we're going to be adding a few.
Oh, sick. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Got my buddy Kevin Delaney over there too. He was Jonas's right-hand man.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason why I'm back there in the first place, because they have the ethos of LRG is coming back because of the individuals that are
part of it,
starting to work with them again. So
okay, good. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so what I want to know, so now this is the end of the questions.
Okay.
But now I'm for myself personally so fascinated from like being a skateboarder and going through everything that I've gone through in skateboarding, which has been a wild ride of
yes, I bet
craziness. And then now being like a company owner, I didn't really set out Braille to be a skateboard company. That was never really the intention.
Mm-hmm.
Making boards kind of came later. But I just find the whole thing so fascinating and interesting. And I see these wild ups and downs. And I feel like right now we had this huge explosion in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, COVID hit,
huge.
Everything shut down. Everybody and their mom wanted a skateboard. And it was a big deal.
Yes.
And then 2021, you have all these like overfilled shops.
Mm-hmm.
They all have inventory that's not moving.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're like 2022, 2023, kind of a similar place. There's, it's not to say that some people aren't moving boards, for sure. They are. But it's so, I feel like I have my own ideas of like, why does this flux go? But I just want to, because you're a vast tomb of knowledge.
Sheesh.
Anything you can.
I would have to say I attribute it to our lack of focus on the novices.
Really?
Big time. And also the whole ebb and flow, the state of flux that we're in as an industry, it might also be attributed to just the nature of how difficult skateboarding is. People getting into it, realizing how hard it is. And
so hard.
I also feel like the video games. So you can become a really good skater in a video game, know all these tricks. And then when you decide to actually try it in real life, you're like, I can't even balance on this thing, let alone kickflip, nose grind, nollie flip out,
Right.
So I feel like the fact that the learning curve is very difficult and it takes a long time to get good. And the fact that you can become a good skater in a video game just like that is it might be a deterrent to some skaters to continue. And then definitely, being shunned at skate spots or dealing with flack or attitude from other skaters because you're not a good skater can also be a deterrent. And that's something that needs to stop within our community because we're scaring people away from what we love the most.
Right. I feel like it gets into this interesting place where it's like, you're a skater, you grew up skating, you've spent countless hours doing your skateboarding and you love it, love it, love it. And then this new kid comes in with a brand new skateboard. You don't got to call him a poser. You just help him out. Like
encourage him.
Yeah, encourage him. Keep him going.
Just like yesterday, I was skating. Like this is something that I've always had. I was skating by myself at this playground near my house, and these guys came up with their electric skateboards.
Yeah.
I still see them as skaters.
Yeah.
You know, clearly there's a line that has been drawn because they didn't even want to interact with me at all, because maybe they have dealt with some kind of flack with other skaters. I don't know. I'm just assuming.
Yeah.
But I've always had the ability to appreciate other sports. Like even when rollerbladers got tons of flack from skaters back in the day, I didn't really see the problem with it. They were doing something creative and we were doing something creative.
Right.
Now it's like, people are starting to respect them, but their industry is suffering, or it has suffered. It's non-existent now.
It's
almost
wild.
But the scooters, okay.
Yeah.
Now a lot of flack goes to scooter kids. And the thing is, I feel like scooters are great because they may be quiet. You can get impaled if you run into a scooter kid at the skate park.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I don't like. However, scooters are great because a skater or a scooter person that rides a scooter learns how to push. They learn which stance they are.
Yeah.
And it's a segue to skateboarding. So if we look at it like that, all these kids that are riding scooters, they could be potential skateboarders after they tire of the limitations that the scooter may have when it comes to expressing themselves creatively.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I feel like the scooter came from a skateboard that they were like, this is too hard. Let's put handlebars on this thing and make it easier.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, originally, I feel like the skateboard was the scooter.
Oh, that's probably the better.
Originally, yeah.
Right.
So,
and then it went, take the handlebar off.
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is that
we're all part of the same.
Accepting, other extreme sports athletes, whatever, accepting other sports is super important.
Yeah, well, rollerblading is so fascinating because it was in the X Games. It was a huge deal. People were doing crazy tricks. And then it just almost overnight vanished off the face of the planet.
Exactly.
And that's almost where I see skateboarding going. And that's where I'm like, can we not? Can we just not do that?
Thank you, Aaron, because it's funny you say that because, remember the skate park closures?
Yeah.
In the late 80s? It's because the popularity of skateboarding was gone.
Right.
The allure. And this is why Thrasher is so important to skateboarding, because Fausto Vitello, he was one of the people that kept our industry alive, because they saw the flux in skateboarding, how it wasn't how it wasn't popular anymore, no more contests. So he would do these backyard contests and create the hype. And he created Thrasher magazine to cover and showcase these contests that they were doing. So he also worked with NSA, the National Skateboard Association, that Tony Hawk's dad started, and he was just, this is why Thrasher is so important to skateboarding now, is because they have really deep roots and they align themselves with street style skateboarding.
Right.
So as street style skateboarding was rising, they were pivotal in rising with us. And I think that's why they're the ones that stayed,
Yeah. And helped it continue to grow and move and come about and keep going.
But now, maybe there is a responsibility that they have, is to discuss ways, like we are, discuss ways to keep it growing.
Yeah.
And not be complacent, with what we have now, because it's not working ultimately for our community.
Right. And the big question arises, how do you keep it going? How do we all work together to make this thing move and carry forward and grow?
It goes right back to education.
Yes.
Working with parents and kids on how to appreciate skateboarding, the good qualities that it has.
And what qualities it has. Yeah, exactly.
And so that's why I appreciate you. I commend you for what you're doing. Everything you do I love it, because I understand how the necessity to keep new skaters involved is fundamental to our growth within our industry and our sport, if you will.
Yeah. Call it what you will. Sport, lifestyle. I know it's so funny. We have to be so careful with our words.
Well, I'm not being careful. It's just the fact that I see skateboarding as a creative expression more than a sport.
Like an art.
A lifestyle.
Yes.
It's an art. It's an art. but now it's become a sport because of the Olympics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
which sheds a new limelight on it.
Yeah, it
and
does.
Has some kind of different factors involved.
Yeah, it's interesting because once I heard skateboarding was going to be in the Olympics, I was overwhelmed with joy and just like saw it as being something that's good for skateboarding.
Yeah.
But I just, I told you that was the catalyst to writing my book because I wanted to make sure these key attributes stayed. But now that I see how it's going, skateboard, it does change the lifestyle of the skater that's striving to be an Olympian, because you have this element of training.
Yes.
And really focused training. And it makes the skaters more rigid with their not abilities, just their approach.
Right.
And it's like, okay, now I'm gonna do my trick, run up here. It's all about the time and this and that. I respect it.
Yeah.
But it's like it is changing, and I wonder if this core element of skating is gonna withstand this global change in the way people are perceiving skateboarding. And even parents and getting kids involved. So.
Right, exactly. I wonder as well. And it's like that factor of like, we know this trick scores high. You will learn that trick and you'll just repeat it, and that's all you're going to do.
Exactly.
And then it's like, it takes away the art form of the style and the expression. So we have to somehow keep that in there and then make the contest be about that.
Well said. And it also, like, what I really adopted from being a skater at EMB is like being careful with your trick selection. And now a lot of skaters can be uncouth with what they do to get the points.
Yeah.
And this is definitely like from my upbringing, having this perception of like, okay, certain tricks aren't cool.
Yes.
And certain tricks are just, are cool. Certain tricks are just too much. Like,
yes.
And I don't want to be specific. This is something that's been drilled into me.
Yeah.
But I can't help but to be picky and careful with my trick selections, But I admire what other people do too,
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's out there, but it's still like, oh, okay, maybe that's a little too much.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm dying to know what's a little bit too much, but I know you're not going to.
For example, like a tray flip, but it's also impressive.
Tray flip, nose blunt, nollie flip out.
How did you know I was going to do that? Because you know why, Aaron, is because back in the day, we would joke around about these things as if it was completely impossible.
Right.
Like, I'll just do a tray flip, nose slide, nose blunt, nollie flip out, whatever.
It's because it is completely impossible.
But now people are doing it. So we're going through that shift, like what Tony Hawk experienced and what I experienced, being a, young guy in this, developing street skating.
Yeah.
But maybe now I'm, partially I'm one of those guys that's like, oh, that's a bit much. Even though I accept it, I'm not going to treat these guys differently or gals differently.
Sure.
But it's like, I am still holding on to like the old nostalgic way of thinking about skating and having like etiquette with your tricks,
Yeah.
But maybe that is becoming a thing of the past because of the scoring system in skating. Like, the more you spin and flip your board, the more points you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so ultimately that's going to take the lead if skateboarding continues to thrive within the Olympics.
Yeah, that will be an interesting thing, and we'll see. I mean, I feel like there's still going to be like, I don't know, maybe these are just my hopes, like I feel like we can have that as like a piece of skateboarding, but where skateboarding really is videos and video parts. But that's me wanting to go back to that nostalgic, being that 12-year-old kid getting, the green VHS and putting that in and seeing the slow-mo tricks.
My God.
Like, that was like, what is happening? Or,
interesting.
Lakai fully flared.
Oh my God.
And just when that video came out, it was like,
gosh, Mike Mo, switch
legendary, amazing. Yeah, the switch flip off the 10 and then the stairs explode and you go like, this is skateboarding coming in. This is like skateboarding going to Hollywood.
Yeah.
But it was so, I don't know. There was just that feeling that you get when you first pop that in. I feel like what I hope is that the Olympics brings more limelight to more people going, because one thing that's like never really focused on is we have this core group of skaters. Then how do you actually get people interested to start? to me, that's like the weirdest, so then I make these videos like the glass skateboard and it gets millions of views. And then I will go to the skate park and I'll have so many people say, I started skateboarding because I saw you skateboarding an iPad. I started skateboarding because of the glass skateboard. And I go, okay, I'm onto something there with, I have to reach out of skateboarding, but we have to have some way to reach them.
Damn.
But I'm hoping the Olympics reaches them.
I feel like what you do is going to reach more people.
I hope.
In the right way. In the right way. Because it focuses on the fun elements of skateboarding.
Yeah, the fun elements and just like,
Well, also I want to touch on, I'm sure you have a lot of kids that are teenagers that are, or maybe a little bit older that come up to you and they fan out on you, right?
Yes.
Because this is super important to understand. When I come across Tommy Guerrero, Ray Barbie, Jim Thiebaud, these individuals, I fan out because when I was younger, I really looked up to Tommy Guerrero, Ray Barbie. I really looked up to these guys, and it stuck. It leaves an impression in your mind, like the people that inspire you early on, and introduce you to new ideas and the skateboarding. They'll see you and they'll be like, oh my God. Like you'd be like, man, you're kind of growing up, man. But they can't help themselves. But they feel compelled to like express these emotions because like you're the guy that introduced them to a certain aspect of skating or skateboarding as a whole.
Right.
So
and I just want to go, I will do my best to teach you how to ollie, teach you how to kickflip. And then you paint, that's open canvas, paint whatever you want.
There you go.
Just like that's your expression, your art form, just do whatever you want with it. But yeah, it's so interesting. Even, I do get that. And I always feel kind of funny or I feel kind of weird about it. Even you were saying like, you're a leader. I'm like, I don't feel like a leader at all.
Well, yeah.
I feel like I'm just like a kid who loves skateboarding. And now the internet came about and there's ways to share it with more people. And then I kind of broke out of my shell and was able to communicate better. And I'm just going, now I feel like I almost have a duty to communicate it,
Very interesting. When you say broke out of your shell and you're able to communicate better, did you have a hard time addressing a crowd or talking in front of the camera before?
Yeah.
You?
100%.
I don't believe it.
I had these old videos. Oh man, when I first moved to San Francisco and Daly City, I was with my roommates and we were making a documentary that never got made. It's all on mini DV tapes, but I have these old videos of me calling Sam Smythe, calling these sponsors. I would had a list on my wall, Girl Skateboard, I got a box from Girl. I'm so proud. So proud.
Okay.
Yeah. One box sent me a board. I was so psyched.
Got an A for effort.
Yeah, so good, but yeah, and I look at those and I'm just like this very shy kid.
Yes.
And I could skate, but I couldn't communicate. I couldn't market myself. I couldn't talk about it.
Crazy.
It really is. I know.
You've come so far.
I really have.
And you're so easy for you to talk in front of the camera.
Yeah, well now I've made literally like 5,000 videos. Now it's nothing, But yeah, it is kind of a funny thing. And I'll be out with my wife. My wife knows nothing about skateboarding and she doesn't really want to.
That's great.
Yeah, and we'll see these kids and they'll be like, oh my God, you're Aaron Karl. And I'm like, yeah, I guess, yeah, good to meet you. And my wife's always like, be like more excited. And I'm like, I don't even know. It's so weird to me.
That's the skater in you. Like,
yeah, totally
humble,
Yeah, but I think that's good to have that there.
It's healthy.
And not to be like, oh, like I don't have the big ego thing.
I'm him.
Yeah, it's like,
you want a photo?
Yeah. I'm just stoked if I could have helped that kid learn how to do the kickflip. That's what I love the most.
Yes.
You taught me how to kickflip. You taught me how to do this trick. So
that's awesome, Aaron.
Yeah, we're trying. We're trying out here. We're moving.
Yeah, we are trying. We're doing, man.
Yeah.
I have to step it up though, and
I got to step it up. I feel like
the realm of supporting people that support the novices.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. That's what I think. I think the reason why we have these big spikes and booms is because there's no easy entry. And I make these videos like with these, with these skaters have been skating for 20 years. I made a video with my wife.
Okay.
And I had her come in and I said, we've been married 13 years.
This is so cool.
She's been around skateboarding a lot.
Is it up?
Yeah, it's up.
I need to see the video.
I think it's called My Wife Chooses My Wife Picks My Tricks or something like that. And we would do a trick, and then we would say, what was that? And she would have to decide, was it a kick flip? Was it a heel flip? Was it nollie, fakie? I mean, just think about the words involved.
We have our own language.
We literally have our own language, but there's no book to teach you the language.
No book.
Nothing.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, there are books that people have made, but it doesn't come off right. Well, that's super interesting that you just pointed that out. It makes me think about other languages that have been, or traditions that have been passed down verbally, but never documented,
right?
And how they just disappear.
Yeah, and there's even amongst the core skaters, like nollie front 180, nollie back 180.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows what a nollie back heel is, but go the other way and you'll have some debates.
Oh, like nollie front heel?
Yeah.
So people say it's just a nollie 180 heel?
Like people will get into all kinds of, or like big spin front board. We had this huge debate the other day about, is it a pop shove it front board? And I said, no, you're doing a big spin. And they said, you're only doing a big spin if you come out fakie. Anyway, you see, that's what I said. I said, no, it's a big spin front board. You come out regular.
However, I can see somebody thinking that it's a pop shove it front board.
Yeah.
The reason why we call it a big spin front board, and we understand that it is that fundamentally.
Thank you,
because,
Karl Watson just solved the debate.
Because of when you're approaching the ledge, you're thinking big spin.
Yeah,
you're not thinking
that's right.
Pop shove it.
That's right.
And if you think pop shove it, that's cool. If you want to do like a big spin front feeble, it's a pop shove it front feeble.
Right.
So you're thinking pop shove it front feeble, but big spin front board is definitely big spin front board, whether you come out straight or fakie.
Right. That's the
Sorry,
thing.
team.
It's part of like our art form, and you do have different words to express it in different ways, and there's various things. But yeah, there's got to be an easy way to introduce that newcomer. Anyways, that's what we're working on.
This is funny you say that, the debate, front board and backside board side.
Yeah.
Okay, because one of my sons brought this to my attention. He said, when you're doing a front side board side, you're going backwards.
Yes.
And when you're doing a backside board side, you're going forward. So shouldn't it be called a front side board side where you're going forward and backside board side when you're going backwards?
Just like a front back 180.
However, it's like when you're approaching the obstacle, it's facing the front part of your body. So that's why I call it front side board side.
That's right.
And so that, it's just like the foundation of like the trick,
Yeah. So then front side hurricane.
This is another one.
Yeah.
Front side.
What's a front side hurricane?
Oh, it should be a backside hurricane. That's interesting. Front side hurricane is a backside board. Oh my God. It's like backside, right?
I don't know. I literally don't even know. Like if I say to somebody, do a frontside hurricane, I don't actually know what I'm going to get. I think it's like you do a front board, but you go over into like.
No, that's really interesting. I never thought about it because I believe when you go front side and do that's called a backside hurricane.
Yeah.
But when you go to do a back board and do a hurricane that way, that's called a frontside hurricane.
Yeah, see, I literally don't even know. But we have to have this boundary where we set these rules. So then we started talking about we should write a book and we should just say, this is what the trick's name is.
Super.
And then we can have a debate.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll be funny. We'll be interesting. But yeah, I think I want to thank you so much. Dude, I learned so much.
My pleasure, Aaron. And, I wish I had better answers for you, bro.
You had all the answers. I mean, your experience alone, your experience of what you've been through and all that you've been through,
man,
it's priceless.
I didn't even share half of it, guys.
I know. Literally.
Not even a quarter of it.
That's why I'm saying, like, I could literally talk to you for the next 7 hours, but I know you're busy.
No, let's keep going. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Super honored to be on your podcast and on your platform.
Yeah, and just thank you for everything that you're doing and for helping everybody out. And you guys, please go pick up My First Skateboard. We have it at brailleskateboarding.com. It's available in your local skate shop. It's available.
Not be disappointed.
You will not be disappointed. You definitely won't. And if you're a parent out there and you're trying to introduce your kids to skateboarding,
My First Skateboard, great tool.
Get the book.
Teach your kids all of the positive attributes that skateboarding can teach your child or any individual that you want to share the book with in skateboarding.
Love it so much. Thank you guys. I don't know where you're watching or listening to on this podcast, but thank you to all the people out there listening. I hope you learned something too.
And I hope the audio is good, because I realize when I'm speaking away from the microphone, I don't get any of those little peaks and valleys.
Yeah, it's definitely much better right there, but...
Okay. Well, if I have to redo some of the answers, just please let me know, and I'll be right back to the Braille House.
Let's go.
Braille House! Thank you, guys.